Start of a new, well, full year, if you like, today here on France 24, and a week into 2024. This year is supposed to be a big one for democracy. Erin is going to tell us more in the press review. Erin.
That's right, Stuart. Well, as the French paper Le Monde tells us in its edition today, this year there will be elections in more than 68 countries, including 8 of the world's most populated. It's on the front page of Le Monde today, which also has a map of the different places where these elections are taking place. Now, for an idea of the stakes, 4.1 billion people will be voting in these elections. That is half of the world's population. Bangladesh, of course, kicked off this marathon with elections on Sunday. And looking ahead, Le Monde tells us that while there may be suspense for elections in places like in the U.S. or in Europe, the status quo is expected to be maintained in places like Russia and in Iran. Now, French paper Le Figaro also covered these elections in today's edition, asking whether or not democracy will survive this record electoral year. It's the most intense, according to this paper, since democracy was founded about 2,500 years ago. The paper is saying that numerous of these elections will be neither free nor fair, while others, including in Taiwan, risk igniting global tension. So a lot is at stake. Again, this map zooming in on some of the votes with the biggest stakes, including India, Venezuela, where there are questions about the opposition, and then Senegal, of course, which is also facing some uncertainty as there are a record number of candidates running. And that comes, of course, after months of anti-government protests and a complicated situation for the main opposition leader, Ousmane Sonko.
Other news today, Israel officially been accused of genocide, Erin.
Yeah, that's right, Stuart. Now, this is in today's edition of the Swiss paper Le Temps. South Africa filed a claim with the International Criminal Court last week accusing Israel of committing genocidal acts in Gaza with the specific intention of destroying the Palestinian population there. The country is also asking for an immediate ceasefire. Now, while the move initially kind of failed to make much of a stir, it's now resonating like an earthquake, Le Temps writes. Several countries, including Turkey, Jordan, and Malaysia, have announced that they will support Pretoria's effort by filing similar claims of their own. But The Guardian today, in an article published just a few hours ago, actually focuses on how South Africa's own history has shaped this genocide case. The ruling African National Congress Party has supported the Palestinian cause for decades. It also talks about how Israel long had a close military alliance with the apartheid regime. Also underpinning the ANC's ICC claim, then, is the growing view that Israel is essentially practicing its own brand of apartheid in Gaza, in the Palestinian territories more generally. And in this case, the Palestinian struggle then is seen for many South Africans as very similar to the South African struggle.
Indeed, Erin, even in the Israeli press, there are some hopes that the claim could at least lead to some soul-searching over the operation in Gaza.
Yeah, Stuart, that's the gist of this opinion piece in Haaretz today. Gideon Levy argues that Israel may not have gone to war with the intention of committing a genocide, but he says that it is happening in practice. He argues that he hopes that the International Court of Justice then will at least use this claim to issue, if nothing better, a provisional measure ordering the suspension of Israel's military operation in the Gaza Strip. And he says that accusations that Israel is committing apartheid, involuntary population transfer, and ethnic cleansing can no longer be dismissed or simply blamed on anti-Semitism. He concludes that the problem of Gaza, quote, was birthed by Israel in 1948 when it expelled hundreds of thousands. He says that now cabinet members are calling for the job to be finished in the Strip as well. He's also, of course, then calling for the situation for something to be done about this situation in the context of this ICC case.
Here to France for this next one. Rumours of a government reshuffle continuing to swirl.
Yeah, the communist paper L'Humanité says that it's not necessarily unusual given the circumstances. This piece saying that every political crisis tends to bring calls for a government reshuffle. This time it's that controversial immigration law, of course, which passed late last year. That's causing chaos in Macron's government. The rumors are that ministers from the more left-wing part of Macron's ruling party are on the chopping block. The more time passes, though, at least according to Le Figaro, the less likely it is that the Prime Minister, Elizabeth Borne, will lose her job. The paper saying that the ruling party is simply struggling to find someone to replace her, and that Macron's decision to invite her on Sunday to the Élysée Palace to discuss some of the year's most pressing issues shows that he's likely to opt for the status quo moving forward instead of any major changes.
Finally from Erin, she's cleaning up with an article all about cleaning, actually. It suggests that the best cleaning staff may not always come in human form.
That's right, Stuart. It turns out that having mice around, contrary to popular belief, may actually help you keep your apartment, home, or even outdoor sheds cleaner. That at least was the case for a man in Wales. He noticed that items in his shed were moving around, so he set up a night vision camera to figure out what was going on. And in this footage, you can see a clip of it there with that little mouse to the left. You see him essentially tidying up the space, and this was going on for months. He was gathering things like corks, pegs, clothing, nuts, and bolts, and essentially placing them in a tray rather neatly on a workbench in the shed. And actually, surprisingly enough, this isn't really the first time that this has happened. A similar incident was captured in a viral video in 2019 showing a mouse stockpiling items in a man's shed near Bristol. So it turns out that mice may not just be a nuisance, but actually a helpful cleaning companion if you're willing to give it a try.
Perhaps I can pay one to come to my apartment. That would be very, very helpful.
Check with your family first. I don't know.
I'm sure they wouldn't mind. They'd love it. They'd love it. Erin, thanks a lot. Next half hour today, as Bangladesh's Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina wins parliamentary elections in Bangladesh, we report on the 600 people reported to have disappeared in the country in recent years. That's In Focus in around 15 minutes.